Hey, this is Brindlewood Bay. I want to start by having each of us introduce ourselves. When I call on you, please just say your name, your pronouns, and anything else you'd like for us to know about you. Um, do you work in role-playing games? How long have you been playing? That kind of thing. I'll start. My name is Jason. I use he, him. I am the author and publisher of Brindlewood Bay, and I'm really excited to run it for you all today. Let's go to David.
Sure. My name is David. I use he, they pronouns. And relating to TTRPG, I'm the host of an actual play podcast called Trials of the Apocalypse, where we play different PBTA games, do one-shots in them. We actually have a one-shot that I ran for Brindlewood Bay that's coming out later this month. I don't know when this will air, but sometime at the end of June, you'll have episodes of that in your hands. But I'm very excited to be a player in this. I've only gotten to read it and run it, and so now getting to actually play is super exciting.
Awesome. Thank you. Alicia.
Hi, yes, I am Alicia. I write games. I have written actually quite a lot of Brindlewood Bay or Brindlewood Bay adjacent things. I am likewise excited to play because I normally am running it or reading it or writing it. So playing is exciting. And I don't know, that's me. You can't tell by this very quintessential Canadian accent, I'm Canadian, and I am sorry, I will definitely say a whole bunch, and I'll probably swear.
Awesome. Pronouns?
Yes, she, they.
Thank you. Depending on whether or not we count the between, you have definitely written more Brindlewood Bay stuff than I have. like if the related stuff, like if the between counts, you haven't, but if the between doesn't count, you definitely have. Dan.
I'm Dan. My pronoun.
Oh, and Dan, we just lost you.
So, he, him. And
hey,
I am. Am I back? Okay, so I'm Dan. My pronouns are he, him, and I am the only non-professional tabletop role-playing game person in this game, I just realized. So feeling a bit outclassed, but also very much looking forward to it.
Dan is 100% being too modest. Dan is one of the original co-founders of The Gauntlet and my original co-host on the Gauntlet podcast. So give yourself credit where due, Dan. Okay, so let me do CATS. So CATS is an acronym that stands for concept, aim, tone, and subject matter. I like to do this at the beginning of a game just to establish some basic expectations about what we're going to be doing. And so concept, Brindlewood Bay is a game about elderly women who investigate and solve murder mysteries. They are members of a local murder mystery book club called the Murder Mavens, and that's how we refer to them, as Murder Mavens. And in addition to loving mystery books, they also are frequently find themselves investigating actual real-life murder mysteries. What they don't know in the beginning, but what we know, is that these murders are ultimately connected to a dark occult conspiracy, which we'll learn more about depending on how the future sessions go. But as they investigate these murders, they start to uncover like details of a broader sort of plot, right? The game is powered by the apocalypse, but it also uses I think a fairly novel sort of mystery mechanic with it, which is essentially the mysteries don't have canonical solutions. The solutions to the mysteries are not known to me, and they're not known until we talk about the solutions, right? And the clue finding and the clue gathering is very flexible as well. Aim. So our aim for today, I'm going to keep our aims focused on just today. We're going to, after my spiel, we're going to make characters. And then after the characters are created, we are going to introduce them. And then after we introduce them, I'll probably talk about like one or two more rules things, and then we will start playing. We'll stop about 5 to 10 minutes before the end of our time to do a debrief. And Adrian's on his way, by the way. I just got a message from Adrian. Tone. The game's tone, I would say, vacillates between like cozy and dark. It is frequently very like it's about seeing these women and living their lives in the town of Brindlewood Bay. And they all have hobbies in addition to being into murder mystery books. And a lot of the gameplay involves that kind of just seeing these women like kind of enjoying their post-married, post-child having lives, right? But also the game can be quite dark. I mean, murders are a thing that happen, and there is like sort of supernatural stuff going on in the background. In terms of subject matter, there's nothing in the game that I think is worth highlighting subject matter wise, especially apart from just like murder. But we will have safety tools in play. The 3 safety tools we'll be using are the open door policy, the X card, and lines and veils. The open door policy is basically if you have to leave for any reason, you can just go. You don't have to explain yourself. You can just leave. The X card is, in this context, if something happens in the game that you find to be uncomfortable in an unfun way or just objectionable in some way, you can say X card or type it in the chat, and I'll stop the game. I will ask what is being X carded if it's not clear. I won't ask why. And then we'll change it and we'll just move on from there. And then the last safety tool is lines and veils. Lines are things that we are not going to have in the game at all. Veils are things that we're okay with being in the game, but we prefer not to role play it or see it on screen. I'm going to say my lines and veils, and then if you all will just share your lines and veils on the break, I think that'd be good. Just want to share it on the break, and I'll make sure to convey it to the rest of the group. You can share it to me privately if you wish. But for a line in the beginning, we're going to have no sexual violence. That's not a thing we're going to have in the game at all. And for veils, I'm going to put torture behind a veil. I prefer not to role play torture. So that's cats. Hey, Adrian.
Hi, guys. I'm sorry.
No worries. We just did cats, but I think you've heard me do cats a million times, so you're probably fine.
Yeah, I've run enough Brindlewood Bay, so
okay, fair enough.
Probably have an idea.
Good. Just real quick, Adrian, if you just tell us your pronouns.
Yeah, he, him. My name is Adrian. Hi. I'm happy to join us. I've been running Brindlewood Bay for a while now, and I don't think I've played it, so I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, a lot of that today. A lot of like people who haven't played it but have run it. It's good. So that's cats. Let's do character creation now. So I have put a link into the chat. I'll put it again for Adrian because it may not show up. And I'm going to pause the recording while we do this. Okay, we're back. Let's introduce the characters. So the way this is going to work is we'll go around the table and we'll introduce all the characters just with the basic information: style, cozy activity, name, obviously, your move that you chose. That would be very good. And then we're going to go back around and you're going to tell us 3 things about your Maven's past. The first thing you're going to tell us is about their partner. They are all the characters are presumed to have a deceased partner. Okay. You'll tell us about your deceased partner, what they did in life, that kind of thing. If you have any kids, including pets, that is also the next thing I'll ask about. If it's human children, they should be older, like they don't live with you anymore. And then the third thing is, what did you do before you retired to Brindlewood Bay? Like, what was your job or life before? So, but initially, we're just going to learn the basics about each character. And I'm going to go in the order of the sheet. So, Alicia, tell us about Esther.
There we go. So Esther is cool. She likes gardening. Her style is blouse barn. I'm leaning into the Schitt's Creek here for my inspiration. I took the Michael Knight move because I just really wanted to have this old beat up truck named Georgette, who, you know, is just like her best friend and like helps her move soil for gardening and, I don't know, chasing down bad guys, etc. Yeah, is there anything else you wanted to know? She uses she, her pronouns.
Yeah, that's good for now. Thanks. Thank you. Dan, tell us about Ruth.
All right, so I'm playing Ruth, and her pronouns are she, her. Her style is gone fishing, and her cozy activity is birding. Her maven move is Frank Columbo. So something about her causes the elite of society to not take her too seriously. She's always trying to raise money for various conservation causes. So she's like, you know, constantly kind of crashing fancy parties and stuff and trying to hit up rich people for money. So I think that's kind of, you know, all the rich people know her, but they don't really take her seriously. So.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you. Let's go to David and Ida. You are muted.
I thought I clicked it. That's what I get. So yes, my character is Ida. She also uses she, her pronouns. Her style is office hours. How I'm particularly interpreting that is definitely like turtlenecks and glasses. And she definitely has like a fastidious nature to her look. For cozy activity, I'm thinking pottery. I think it's something she's not good at, and she likes acquiring new skills. So this is like her current passion. My maven move is Fox Mulder. So I've got some connection to the dark conspiracy, some informant that helps me specific to learn more about the mystery and stuff. So.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you. And I think I have to lower the dark conspiracy thresholds by 1, correct?
I believe so.
I do indeed. Yep. Okay.
Yep.
So the dark conspiracy will happen faster because of the presence of Ida. Fantastic. And let's go to Adrian and Laura.
So I'm playing Laura. Her style is hippy dippy. She has the cozy activity collecting stamps. And as we just said, it used to be passport stamps. She traveled a lot. She spent the late 60s and early 70s in India. And I do think that she used to be kind of a yoga teacher or something, maybe something she still does sometimes. But now she doesn't travel that much anymore, but has kind of retired to Brindlewood Bay and is now collecting stamps because she's still exchanging letters with people all over the world. Maybe some of them are kind of former lovers and so on. And I took the Remington Steele move because she used to be quite fit, and even though people don't expect it of her anymore that much, sometimes she can still and I think, I changed it actually to Remington Steele. Yeah, so actually because of all these travels and all the different cultures that she got to know, she is very much able to pass herself off as someone that she is not. So she is kind of a queen of disguising herself.
Fantastic, thank you. Now we're going to go back around and we're going to talk about some aspects of their past in a little more detail. What the rest of us are going to do whenever each player is speaking is we're going to be thinking about what sorts of things, based off what we know about the character, everything we know about the character so far, what sorts of things might be found in their home. And then we each get to say something. And so long as it generally conforms to the player's idea of their character, they will add it to their section of their sheet called A Cozy Little Place, which is, scroll down a bit, you'll see it there. The Cozy Little Place is essentially your equipment list, okay? Because these are things that are in your house, but also if it would make sense for you to have it in a scene, you do, okay? And so they can give you a die roll bonus. So if you incorporate that into your action, you can get a bonus on your die roll. The characters start a little flimsy in their abilities, like in terms of the sort of PBTA curve. And so using items from the Cozy Little Place gives you a big leg up, okay? But for now, we're just gonna listen and then we're gonna make suggestions about cool things in their house. So let's start with, let's go back to Esther. So Esther, tell us about your deceased partner, your children, if any, and what you did before Brindlewood Bay.
Yeah, okay. So my deceased partner is Miguel, a immigrant who worked as a farmhand on a sort of large farm outside of Brindlewood Bay. Actually, no, I moved to Brindlewood Bay after he passed away, changing my mind. So they lived rurally, you know, he worked on this farm as a farmhand. And then after he passed away, I moved to Brindlewood Bay. We had no children, but now I have a very large, slobbery hound dog named Bo, who enjoys sitting in the truck with me and going places. I chose gardening as my cozy activity to honor my deceased partner and to sort of keep that going. And before retiring to Brindlewood Bay, I was a small town news presenter.
Fantastic. And now each of the rest of us gets to say something we think might be found in Esther's home based off what we know about Esther so far. I will start by saying you have a subscription to a farmer's almanac that you have no idea how to cancel. So you just keep getting it. And whoever else wants to say, go for it.
Something I thought of was maybe doing in something like a Swiss Army knife, but probably more oriented to bigger jobs. I was thinking that, you know, as a farmhand, it might be something your husband left behind, because there's always something that needs fixing, and so having one stop for that sort of thing is
Can I
always
just
good.
say? Can I just say? I bought this shovel. It hasn't gotten here yet, but I bought this
tactical shovel
that's like it does like 100 things. It's like if there was going to be a zombie apocalypse, this shovel is like the thing, right? If I was a street level superhero, this shovel would be my weapon. Like it's the most incredible shovel. Sorry.
Well, I think that perfect analog. You have a tactical shovel that has 100 forms.
Fabulous. Dan, Adrian?
So maybe just some like heavy duty gloves, like gardening gloves.
Maybe a collection of little notebooks, you know, field notes, kind of built on these kind of farm notebooks that maybe you collected over the years.
Fantastic, thank you. Okay.
I like all of those.
Yeah, awesome. Dan, tell us those backstory things about Ruth.
Okay, so Ruth, her husband was, we'll call him Jim, and I think he was like a small town politician in Brindlewood Bay back in the day. I don't think they ever had kids though, because Ruth was a biologist and she was like constantly going out into the field, but like Brindlewood Bay was kind of her home base, right? Because Jim was really well established here. And so after she retired, she kind of, you know, retired here with Jim, and then he passed a little while ago. So I think that's where she's at.
Awesome. Whoever wants to go first, go for it.
I feel like she has like a rare specimen that she found, something small, like a rare bug or flower, whichever sort of like fits, that she keeps on her person all the time.
Is it live?
No. Like if it's a bug or whatever, it's like taxidermied or it's
Okay.
or whatever.
Can I expand on this?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, so I think it's the bug, the golden bug that Jim gave me to propose to me.
I love it.
I love that. Yeah.
So good.
I think that she has a bullhorn. You said that your late husband was a politician, and I can imagine that, you know, there are certain rallies or events that they might have been at that's something that you now have in your possession.
I'm going to say that Jim collected blueprints of buildings in Brindlewood Bay, especially historical ones. So.
I would say probably kind of bird food seeds in her pockets. You know, that's why there's a bird on your head. So kind of always, you know, some kind of little food for birds. And if, of course, in a pinch, it might also serve as snacks if we get kind of trapped on an island or something.
Awesome. I love it. All right. David, tell us those backstory elements about Ida, please.
Yeah. So Ida's late husband's name is Hugh. and she met him while she was working at IBM way back in the day. The joke is his name is Hugh Packard. It's a decent joke.
It's a solid joke, David. I'm here for it.
But yeah, so she met Hugh while she was working at IBM. They both are sort of in the hardware and software domain. Is what they worked in back in the day. But she eventually moved out of the commercial space into more the public space, working for government, for some 3-letter agencies, perhaps, on some hardware and software. And she was really looking forward to retiring. So now that she's in Brindlewood Bay, she's trying to embed herself as much as possible. And I think that they did, wherever they lived at the time, maybe around Boston or something, for some time, that they tried to have kids, weren't able to, eventually adopted. So she has a couple of adult children who live elsewhere in the country. Their names are Hal and Andromeda.
Nice. Say again real quick, what you do before Brindlewood Bay?
So she worked doing like hardware, software, embedded system type stuff for like private sector, and then eventually moving into like more public government work, trying to tie in a way that she might know some dark conspirators, that sort of thing.
Awesome. I love it. I think based off what you told us, and also the fact that you have the Fox Mulder move, I think you have a book of what do you call it, like to decrypt a code? What is that called? Like a
great question.
Like a code breaking thing or something. There's a word for it. There's a word for like a thing that you like.
Oh shoot.
It's on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, it's an E, isn't it? It's a oh man.
Well, in any case, I think you have like a book of like famous like code things. Like, get the name. What is the name? Once we sort out what that is.
Yeah,
right there.
It'll come to me eventually. Okay, that's great.
I think that you have accidentally some kind of memo with a trade secret from a company you worked for that you just keep because you don't know what to do with it.
Awesome.
I think building on this, maybe you have like a collection of USB sticks that, like all these kind of that you got from trade shows and so on. So whenever we would need one of them, maybe to copy some files of a computer or something, you might have one handy.
Sweet.
So I feel like you're kind of getting pigeonholed, but my idea was like like one of the lock picking tool sets, like that competitive lock pickers use, because there's a lot of overlap between hardware people and lock picking for whatever reason.
I love the idea that I mentioned earlier that she's sort of done lots of different hobbies over time, and I like the idea that she like works her way up to being like at a proficient sort of advanced level, and then she likes that like getting to 80% completion grind, and then like that last 20% is too much work and she switches to something else. So she's proficient maybe with lockpicking. That was a hobby back in the day.
Fantastic. Did everybody get a chance to say for Ida? And let's go to Adrian and Laura. Tell us about your backstory, Adrian.
So Laura, like I said before, she used to be a yoga instructor, and she was part of like this first wave of people bringing over yoga to the US. She used to be a big name in the yoga community, but something happened, and so she left and retired to B-Bay. Before that, she ran a big yoga studio in LA and pioneered yoga DVD programs and had fancy clients like Madonna and so on. I might be partly basing this on a friend of mine actually in LA. So that is kind of what she did when she came back from India, where she kind of got into yoga. And I think there, so she doesn't have any kids. She never got married, but she never was really fancy. But while she was in India, she had like a long time, multiple years affair with this diplomat, like an English diplomat. And his name was Brian. Yeah, I think maybe he actually was kind of tragic. He died in some kind of accident there. And that's when she went back to the US and then started the whole yoga business and so on.
Fabulous. I love it. I just want to hang out with her. Like, she just seems like the best person to hang out with. Okay. Whoever has an idea for the cozy little place, go for it.
I think that you have the cell phone number of a B-list celebrity.
Nice. That's good. I'm going to say that you have... Actually, come back to me if somebody wants, if David or Dan wants to go. I'm still kind of formulating.
I was thinking that you have, you mentioned that you'd sort of met and hobnobbed with lots of more famous people. I imagine that you have a like photo book or album that has lots of signed photographs of various, lots of different people of varying degrees of fame.
Okay, I don't know if this is kosher, but I'm picturing a tin filled with medical marijuana.
Works for me. I mean, we might have to exit out later if somebody puts it on Lines and Veils, but for now, we'll say. And I'm going to say, okay, this idea, okay, here's the idea. You have a Twitter account with a large number of followers. That's what you've got.
I love that.
I want to see
maybe
that.
I said it to private when this thing happened, and
yeah, there we go. Exactly. Yeah. Good. So fabulous. I think we're all set with the characters. Any questions about the characters or anything else before I continue? Awesome. So let's take a 5-minute break now, and we'll come back and I'm going to talk about just to do a quick overview of some of the important rules, and then we'll do the first mystery. We'll start playing. While we're on break, if you will do a private message to me with your Lines and Veils, I'll convey it to everyone else when we get back. You can message me on Discord if you prefer, or you can just do on the chat here. If you press the little down arrow, you can direct something to just me. So if you'll just get your Lines and Veils over to me on the break, that would be awesome. And we'll take 5. Okay. Before we begin the first mystery, I want to just talk about just a quick survey of the rules. I know most of you know them already. This is kind of for people watching the video too. But if you want to go take a look at the sheet, there is a tab that says moves on it. That has all the moves, but the ones I'm concerned with right now are the basic moves and maybe the occult move. But if you look at the basic moves over there, there are not many. Brindlewood Bay is a very streamlined PBTA game. And so most actions are going to be covered by one of 3 moves: the day move, the night move, and the meddling move. The day move and the night move are the same move, but just one's at day and one's at night. It's kind of a catch-all action, sort of like risky action move, okay? The night move is more dangerous, like doing something at night or in a place that is equivalent to night, like a really dark place, is fundamentally more dangerous than doing it in the day. Okay, so that's just a genre thing that we do here. The meddling move is the main move you're going to do when you are gathering clues or information about the mystery. Okay, there's a few special moves on here. One is called the Gold Crown Mysteries move. This is the most genre move of the game, and what it is your characters are all fans of a series of murder mystery books called The Gold Crown Mysteries, featuring the super sleuth character Amanda Delacourt. Okay, in the fiction of the game, The Gold Crown Mysteries are written by a mysterious author named Robin Masterson, who actually figures into the game sometimes. But Amanda Delacourt, these mysteries are sort of, you all love them. And once per session total, like not per character, total, a Maven can say, this reminds me of something that happened to Amanda Delacourt. And you then work out some details about a particular Gold Crown mystery book and how it relates to something taking place right in your game, in the fiction. And you get, basically, it's like a win button, right? Like you do that and you win, okay? So just be aware of that. And then finally, we have Theorize. Theorize is the sort of the engine of the mystery, okay? So every mystery has a complexity. The first one that we're doing has a complexity of 6. And when you've collected enough clues and you feel confident you have a good theory about what happened, we're going to do the Theorized move. And it's kind of an out of character thing, like you're kind of mostly talking as players. But basically you're going to like come up with a theory based off the clues that you have of like what happened. And based off how many clues you incorporate into the answer, you get, it makes your die roll better to see if you're correct. So you start with minus the complexity, right? So basically you would start at -6 with no clues, right? And then for every clue you work in, you add 1. So you can eventually get it up to like, 8 clues would be like +2, right? So that's how this works. You're going to come up with your own theory as a group. You will hopefully reach a consensus. My job is to help guide you to a consensus, and there'll be and you'll solve it hopefully. When you're doing this, the system kind of demands that we're really flexible with the clues, in the sense that, like, in order to make your theory work, you can add in some context that maybe was off screen, right? So if you find a clue that's like a severed finger in a weird place, you might suggest during Theorize, well, what if one of the NPCs was always wearing gloves to hide their missing finger, right? Like that's the kind of thing you can add in, right, to make it work. So and then we have the occult move. We're not going to talk about that yet. I think it's too early for the occult move. It's kind of too early in the game. But basically, the Mavens can learn supernatural things and incorporate those, and they become like a move that everybody has access to. So that's kind of how that goes. Yeah, and then you have your Maven moves as well, which do different things. So let me grab the first mystery, and we will get started. I have to go grab it though, because I naturally don't have it pulled up already. We'll just do Dad Overboard, and everybody knows Dad Overboard, but it's okay. We'll start there. So, Brindlewood Bay is a picturesque town in Massachusetts. It is, I think, technically a suburb of Boston. It is historically a whaling town, but in present day, it's a vacation spot. Bed and breakfasts, fishing tours, art, like artists, like things like that, antique shops, right? It's that kind of town, right? And this game is starting in the middle of the tourist season. So we're like in the late spring, summer, okay? And so tourists are going to be a thing. You all have a weekly meeting of the Murder Mavens Mystery Book Club. It's every Saturday at 6 p.m. And you all meet in the loft space of a bookstore called the Candlelight Booksellers. They give you this loft space to have your meetings every week. I want to do a little paint the scene question. As the camera sort of pans around this loft space where you hold your Murder Mavens Mystery Book Club meetings, what do we see that shows how you have personalized the space a little bit? And the first person with an answer, just say so. And everybody gets to answer.
I think Laura brought some Tibetan prayer flags.
Esther is very resourceful, and so she goes around picking up people's furniture that they've like put out for the garbage and like loads them onto her truck. And so the room has been filled with all this like patchwork of random furniture pieces that she has found in an effort to make the space more comfortable.
Awesome. I love it.
I think there's a lot of like recurring background characters in the book series that we all love. And so I like the idea that Ida has put together a chart that sits on one of the walls that like tracks all of their favorite characters and like which books they appear in, so that, you know, anytime they go to talk about a specific one, there's like I'm sure there were arguments for you know, many months over, you know, who appeared where, and so this is the record that resolves those so they can instead, you know, enjoy their literature together.
So I had kind of something along the same lines as that, I think, where Ruth notes every instance of like animals being out of place in an Amanda Delacourt mystery. And so like, you know, when Amanda Delacourt heard the cry of the black and white warbler in South America, that clearly couldn't have happened. And then there's a write-up about like what bird she probably saw.
I like the idea that it was a collaborative project. You know, we both
Right,
contributed,
exactly.
put together.
I love it. I love it. It's very good. Thank you for that, everybody. So just as the meeting is ending, you are all approached in the loft space by Brindlewood County's Chief Law Enforcement Officer, Sheriff Wyman Dalrymple. He tells you that several nights ago, a wealthy financier, Albert Krause, was dragged out of the bay dead. Mr. Krause and his family were on a yachting vacation, and their boat is presently anchored about a quarter-mile offshore. The surviving Krauses, wife Allison, eldest daughter Sarah, son David, and youngest daughter Emily, they all assert that Mr. Krause was drunk and simply fell overboard. Sheriff Dalrymple suspects foul play, but he hasn't been able to turn anything up. And in fact, he just needs to find something to sort of keep the body and them here, okay? Because what they want to do is take the body back to Boston and be done with this, right? The body is currently being held in a cold storage at the fish market until it can be shipped back to Boston for the funeral, or until Sheriff Dalrymple's done with his investigation. So he has asked you all for your help because at the start of the game, you all have helped before with other murders in Brindlewood Bay. The murder rate in Brindlewood Bay is very high, far higher than it might be more dangerous than like Gary, for all we know, right? It's very dangerous. So I'll make some notes here on the tab for you all, so you have all that information in a moment. But for now, I'm going to start with a little establishing question for Laura. Laura, you met one of the Krause children several years ago, and I'll remind you, it's eldest daughter Sarah, youngest daughter Emily, and son David. You met one of the Krause children several years ago. What were the circumstances around that meeting?
What's the name of the youngest daughter again?
Emily.
Emily. Yeah, so I think she came out to LA to become a actress, and she also came to my yoga studio. And I think she might have looked up to me, and then maybe when the acting didn't really work out, she maybe she started to become a yoga instructor, and that's what she does now.
Awesome. So he's asked for your help. He, of course, will insist that he doesn't need you to solve the whole mystery. They have it in hand. He just needs something to show that there's foul play. You are, of course, free to ignore him. He also does not want you to go look at the body in cold storage because he doesn't want to like cause a ruckus with tourists. Okay. Once again, you are free to ignore him. And so he leaves. It's probably around 7:30 at this point in the evening on a Saturday. You can hear just outside the bookstore, you can hear like a lot of foot traffic still, like kind of going up and down the boardwalk. We can have this scene with everybody, or we can, if somebody wants to just dive right into the investigation, that's also great. But we'll just say that's the scene framed up. Role play.
What was the name of the officer?
Sheriff Wyman Dalrymple.
Sheriff Dalrymple.
Mm-hmm. And while you're all having your scene, I'm gonna type names and stuff into the mystery thing.
Awesome, thank you. I think that when Sheriff Dalrymple shows up, Ida would immediately stand up from her chair and like, I imagine she's sort of pacing at the side of the room while he's explaining it. She's like, got her fingers to her chin. She's thinking about what information he's providing. And when he finishes his basic description, she would turn to him and go, now Sheriff Dalrymple, I think that there's something in this that you're not telling us. Why are you so interested in keeping them here and not letting the case just be solved elsewhere?
It's pretty good. I kind of like this as a meddling move, right? Like maybe there's something going on with Sheriff Dalrymple.
Yeah, I like that.
I'm into it. Let's have the roll first and see how you do. Do you have dice in front of you? If not, I can grab
I do.
die roller.
Got a couple of wood ones right here.
A die roller too, in case somebody wants that.
And
probably presence, I think.
Presence. All right.
Yeah.
Not great at that, but that's okay. That's okay. Oh, that is a 5 and a 3, so that is 8, and I have a 0 in presence, so that is an 8.
You get a clue. There's a complication with it. We'll talk about that in a minute. Let's just keep the scene going, though. I'll come back to the clue.
Okay.
Sheriff Dalrymple, I think, is initially, so let's describe him. He's kind of a big guy. I think like when you're first aware of him coming up to the loft, you kind of hear him first because there's a very like strained heavy footsteps on the stairs, right? And he always has this kind of permanent, like exhausted kind of like way about him, very jowly kind of older man. And he says, he kind of, when you pose this question to him, if everybody could change their character name or put their character name on their window, that'd be awesome. It'd be very helpful. To Ida, he'll say, now just hold your horses, Ida. We can talk about more details in a minute. Is everyone going to help me with this? I mean, trust me, no one is more upset about having to come to ask you ladies for help than me. I would just like a little bit of grace in this moment, if I could please get it from all of you.
Ida turns to face the rest of the group. Well, I think we're always interested in dealing with a mystery like this. It's too interesting to pass up. But if you're not willing to, we'll give you some aid if you'll show us your hand a little bit. Come on, Sheriff.
Ruth, what are you doing right now?
I don't know. Probably just watching this conversation unfold. I don't think Ruth necessarily feels the need to barge in.
Let me take a look at my clue list. He says, well, Ida, the only thing that stuck out to me as particularly unusual about the case is the fact that none of the surviving Krauses seem that upset about Albert's death. Well, the daughter Sarah, she seemed to be pretty well upset about it, I suppose, to be perfectly fair. But the rest of them, well, I mean, I was offered a glass of champagne when I went out to the yacht, so they can't be that upset about it. And we sort of pulled up to the yacht a little quietly, just to sort of scope the place out before we went and did our interviews. And we definitely heard an argument taking place on the front of the ship between Allison, the deceased wife, and David, the son. I couldn't quite make out what they were arguing about, but it was pretty heated. It was pretty intense. That's the only thing that I can think of at the moment, Ida. He says, now, and this is your complication. He says, I will tell you that we didn't make a very good impression with the Krauses. They are very angry and ready to leave. If you want to talk to the Krauses, you're going to have to find some sort of pretense of visiting them that has nothing to do with the investigation.
I think, which one of our mavens has the disguises? I think that's Laura.
It's Laura, yeah.
Yeah. I think, sorry, go ahead, please.
I think she casts a glance over at Laura and says, I imagine we can manage that. Maybe making a meaningful look at you.
Yeah, I think Laura was sitting on some sort of couch or something until now, and partly listening, maybe reading one of these novels, and stands up and says, Sheriff, did I hear right? The Krauses are again back in town. Like every summer I'd missed that they had actually arrived. Do
you know the
their daughter
family?
Emily? Is she with them?
Yes, she's definitely there, although I wasn't able to get much out of her. She seemed very distracted by something taking place on the World Wide Web.
I might have an idea. I actually know her from before. She used to live in LA for some time, and this might be, maybe I could invite her to dinner, or I could ask her to meet up. Yes. Maybe
do whatever
today
you
it's a
think
little
you
late,
need to do. I have to go now. I have to go deal with tourists, which you know I love. And I wish you all good luck. You absolutely should not conduct any investigations tonight. It's far too late, especially for women of your age. But the morning, you should definitely get up bright and early and do that.
Now, Sheriff, you stick to your domain, handling those tourists, and we'll stick to ours, okay?
And he leaves. I assume you're going to ignore him about investigating the day. I think I want to go around the table and just find out what everyone's interested in doing. One thing I'll point out, we haven't talked about this part of the rules yet, but unlike in other role-playing games, there's not like a don't split the party problem in Brindlewood Bay. Your characters literally cannot be killed or die unless you want them to. So there's a mechanic that kind of saves you always. Feel free to like split up if you want, go pursue whatever avenues you want. Let's just go around the table. So Esther, what would you like to do?
Oh, good question. Esther, it turns out, I just discovered right now in this moment, really does not like the sheriff. So she wants to do the exact opposite of what he said to do. So I think she wants to go right now to look at the body.
It's being held in a fish market in a cold storage at the tourist fish market. Awesome. What would you like to do, Ruth?
So I think Ruth will float two ideas. So one, what were these people's names? The family?
The Krauses.
The Krauses. So the Krauses do normally attend the annual Warbler Conservation Ball, and they haven't bought tickets yet. So if we wanted to visit them to see if they're attending this year, we could go that way. Alternately, I mean, I got a lot of blueprints. So if we need to break into a building, I'm game for that too. So Ruth could go either way.
What would you like to do, Laura?
I think Laura needs to go home, and she has this big Rolodex of telephone numbers and contact information, and she has to, and I think it's kind of a holdover. So she uses this kind of analog list of contacts and so on, and she needs to find the number of Emily and call her up, maybe to invite her for an early morning yoga session or something.
I love it. And Ida?
I think in line with Ruth's idea of maybe doing a little bit of light breaking and entering, I think that there are some public records regarding the Krauses that Ida would really want to get her hands on, or I guess some not so public records. And much to her chagrin, they are not accessible online. You have to maybe get them off where they're stored in person. So I think she's interested in digging up a little bit more info on the Krauses before going further in the mystery.
Fabulous. Okay, so sounds like maybe Ruth and Ida are going to go break into a public archive of some sort. And Esther's going to go to the fish market, and Laura is going to go do some phone reconnaissance. I love all that. I will give you one more detail, Esther. The body is being stored by a family friend of the Krauses who works at the fish market. This gentleman's name is Etienne Beauregard. I'm adding him to your suspect list. So if you want to click over to the Mysteries tab, you'll see that I've made a little thing for Dad Overboard, and you have a clue right now. The clue that the sheriff revealed was an intense argument between Allison and David. And because Ida kind of suggested it, I'm going to put Sheriff Dalrymple as a suspect too, because Ida seems suspicious of Sheriff Dalrymple. So let's start with the phone call to Emily. So Laura, I think getting Emily's number is no trouble. We can just go straight to that. And the phone is answered. Hello, how did you get this number?
Oh, you gave it to me, dear. Just a couple of years ago. We haven't spoken for a while. It's Laura. Laura, your old yoga instructor.
Oh,
from Los Angeles.
Hi, Laura. You do know about time zone differences, right?
Well, I'm actually, aren't you in Brindlewood Bay? That's what I heard.
Well, yeah, how do you know that?
I heard about a tragedy that happened with your father. And
word spreads fast. That's already reached LA?
No, I'm also in Brindlewood Bay. I moved here just 2 years ago.
Oh, that makes more sense. Okay.
You haven't been around, but I've actually met your parents. But or at least I saw them the last couple of years, some of the social functions here. But it seems that it's your first time vacationing with them here?
I think at this point, do the meddling move with presents just to see how this is going to go.
Mm-hmm.
Put a die roller in there if you need it in the chat.
I have dice. Let's see. That's a 6.
A 6. While you are talking to Emily, you hear in the background like a clunking sound. And she says, "Oh, Laura, will you hold on a moment?" And then you just hear kind of like you can hear it, but it's not like directly into the receiver. She says, oh my God, what are you doing in here? And what are you going to do with that? Oh my God. And then you just hear this like struggle, and the line goes dead. Now, here's a good opportunity to introduce a part of the game called the crowns. So each character has on their sheet a section called the Crown of the Queen and another section called the Crown of the Void. This is a meta mechanic that allows you to essentially choose your own adventure style, have something else happen. You get to like improve your die roll, and something else happens after I narrate it. For Crown of the Queen, you can mark the first box and you'll get a do-over. For Crown of the Void, you can mark any box you wish. And essentially, these things represent like different aspects of the character. The Crown of the Queen represents the Maven as a woman, or explores the idea of the Maven as a woman. And the Crown of the Void explores the idea of the Maven slipping deeper into the occult conspiracy, right? You can do this now if you wish, Laura, but if you like the idea of Emily being murdered, if you think that's dramatically interesting, you don't have to do anything.
So I think, right, it's the Crown of the Queen is anyone you want, any that you want, and the Void is the first one. Right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I did that backwards.
So
yeah.
I think, I mean, I do like that it starts dark, and I think I'm gonna pick that up by avoiding her getting married, getting murdered like this, but I will mark the Crown of the Void, the shadow in the garden.
So let's read that out. It says, a shadow in the garden. Hereafter, during cozy vignettes focused on you or cozy move scenes involving you, you must also narrate how dark entities subtly reveal themselves in the scene. Mark that now. And that changes your result to a 7 to 9. I'm going to come back to the scene though. So Emily's not murdered now, and she will give up a clue. Let's go to Ruth and Ida. So let's say there's like a sort of public records building, which is closed right now. And Ruth, what's your approach for getting inside?
Well, I believe Ida can get us inside, so I'm not worried about that. I think my concern is like I've set up an elaborate reason as to why we're here. I've gone into eBird and put a sighting for a rare owl in downtown Brindlewood Bay, and so now we have the perfect pretense if anyone stops us why we're creeping around. It's like, well, look,
at night.
Exactly. You don't find owls during the day. So.
Well, so Ida, let's talk about getting in. The doors are all locked. There is a security system like an electronic security system that keeps the doors locked. What would you do?
So I'm imagining that there's probably some kind of electronic access on the outside that, whether they do like a key card or a pin code, sure. That's what they put on. I think that she would go up and essentially, like, while Ruth is maybe making a clear mime of looking for birds and being a normal person out here right now, I think Ida would sort of try to subtly pop the cover off of that and maybe try to tinker with some of the electronics to get it to give up the alarm, so to speak.
I think that's fabulous. I think that's going to be the night move. Let's read that text before we do it. So the night move says, when you do something risky or face something you fear, name what you're afraid will happen if you fail or lose your nerve. In this case, if you fail. I will tell you how it's worse than you fear. So what are you scared will happen?
I think I'm scared what will happen is it's going to like really put off the alarm. And that means that, first responders and stuff are going to show up and we're going to totally lose the chance at checking this place out.
I'm going to say it's worse than that. Someone who is working for the murderer is part of the first responder team and is keeping an eye on all this. Make a roll with composure to see if you can get through safely. And if you have a personal, or not personal quarters, a cozy place item that would be helpful, you can do that as well.
I have a lock picking set, book for code breaking. I have USB drives. I think in this instance, unless that lock picking set is both electronic and physical,
Can be. I'm okay with that.
All right, then yeah, then I think I can use my lock picking set here in order to try to get past this alarm system.
Okay, so that means you'll get 3 dice and you'll roll all 3 and add up the 2 highest. That's called advantage.
Hey, that did slightly adjust things. That's great. So that's then the highest 2 are a 5 and a 3. So that's 8 plus my composure, which is 1. So that is 9.
Fabulous. On a 7 to 9, you do it or hold steady, but there's a complication or cost. I'll describe what that looks like. Actually, I'll let you describe just the process. What does that look like? Because you're sort of doing your thing.
So I think basically she pops the cover off, and there's like a ribbon cable connecting the numbers to some chip underneath, and it has a little port that's inside there that's normally used, in quality assurance at the factory to test the chip and stuff. And she plugs in her specialized equipment to that, and she pulls out. It's almost like, I imagine the electronic one is almost like flip phone sized. It's got a little screen on it that is a bit dated, and it has a keypad. And she runs a routine. You see, like code breakers style. There's 4-digit combination, and it's testing digits. And ding, 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 and finally, it clicks, and you hear the beeping of the alarm system disable.
I'm going to lean into the complication now. So, Ruth, where are you while this is happening?
So I'm kind of on the corner, and
Okay.
I'm acting as a lookout.
Okay, perfect. So you hear him before you see him. Ruth, it's Sheriff Dalrymple. What are you doing out here?
Well, so you see, I've got a bird alert set up on my phone, and I got an alert for a very rare owl in the area, and so I'm just trying to get him. He's on my life list. I've been after him for a while, and I think I feel good about it today.
A bird alert.
Yes.
They just tell you about birds.
Well, yeah. How else would you find out?
I assume this is something from the information superhighway.
Well, yes, Sheriff.
Let's do a night move to see if you can get the sheriff off your case. What are you afraid will happen right now?
I'm afraid that it's pretty obvious, like that we're trying to break into a building. So, I mean, he's gonna notice Ida.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think it's worse than that. I think I think his deputy, his sort of go-getter deputy is with him and insists that you two be arrested. Like he would probably just let you go and be like, get out of here, Go ahead and make a composure, because whenever you kind of are lying or being dishonest to get out of a scrape, that's composure. And if you have an item that would be helpful, you get 3 dice. So.
No, unless I'm throwing my pocket bird seed at him and take it off, I think I'm just gonna roll 2.
Okay, go for it.
So that is a 5. And I add composure,
Yeah,
which
composure.
I don't think I have. So that's a 6. Still no help.
That is a miss. Cut to commercial. Before we cut to commercial, the music swells and Sheriff Dalrymple says something like, "What? Who is that over there?" Kind of like in the direction of Ida. And before he can see who it is, we cut to commercial. I'm going to give you a short prompt. When I circle back to you, you can choose to narrate a commercial break inspired by that short prompt. And when we get back, it makes you roll a 10 plus. Otherwise, we roll with your 6 minus. Your prompt is a big liquidation sale at a furniture store. Think about that. Let's go to Esther. So Esther, you have a name if you want to try a more front-facing approach, or you can sneak into the cold storage. How do you want to approach this? What do you do?
So I assume like we're later in the day. It's closed at this point in time.
No, it's actually not. Because what it is so this fish market is like a Pike Place type tourist location. So there's like families like out like watching, like I think the fishmongers like are kind of like performative, they kind of do little like tossing fish back and forth, for the tourists. So there's actually quite a lot of people out. Yeah.
Okay. And I think that Esther is very distrustful of people. I think that she thinks she was like a more hard-hitting journalist than she actually maybe really was in her small town news thing. And so she's very suspicious, and she doesn't trust people are going to say to her. So I think she's going to try to sneak in. I think that's going to be her approach.
Let's do a paint the scene question while we're here about the fish market. This is for everybody at the table. What do we see at the fish market? Well, no, this is just for you, actually. This is for now, the way this is framed, this is just for you, Esther. What do you see that reminds you why you love the fish market? Or what about this place makes you hate coming down here? The choice is yours. Do you love it or hate it, and why?
So, I love it and hate it. This is zero role play. This is just Alicia. Did not like seafood at all growing up, at all. But once I met Miguel comes from Chile. And so they eat like a ton of seafood. And so I have this kind of love-hate relationship where like the smell is still a little bit repulsive to me, having now grown up with it. But I've got this sort of like, loving memory. Like the smell also brings with it, these memories of my husband. So it's kind of like an instant repulsion. And then like, oh.
I love it. So you're going to sneak in. The cold storage is in the back, so you can sneak in through the back. That's perfectly fine. I think when you get back there, it's kind of what you would expect. Just to kind of lean into the repulsion aspect, it's probably a lot of like dumpsters full of fish guts and like, lots of strong fishy smells back there. Strange liquids and ichors glowing in the street light, right? But there is a back door, like a kind of one of those like metal shutter doors in the back. What do you do?
Okay. I would like to. Well, is it locked? I guess is my question.
It does not appear to be locked. No.
Okay. I would like to slide it open.
Let's do a night move for sneaking in here. What are you afraid will happen if you fail here?
I am afraid that I will get a bad reputation.
It's worse than that. I think. Let me take a look at your character real quick, just to kind of remind myself about certain things about the character, about Esther. Oh, I think it's worse than that. There's someone in the fish market who is a local who can't stand you. You can't stand each other. And it's like gonna just be like a moment. And so that's kind of what's at stake here. Go ahead and roll 2d6 plus your, I think, composure.
Oh no. That's a 6.
What is your surname, Esther? What do we call you?
Esther Gold.
You go inside, and inside it is very I think it's like probably it's fairly well lit, but there's a lot of like tall crates and stuff, so that casts a lot of shadows, but there are lights overhead, right? Kind of white halogen lights. Doesn't appear to be anyone around there, and you almost feel like you have a free run of the place. And then you hear, well, 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 if it isn't Esther Gold. sneaking around in the fish market for some reason. This is Tammy. Tammy is insufferable, and you're not going to get anything done as long as she's back here and you have to deal with her. You can maybe avoid Tammy if you want to mark one of your crowns. Otherwise, we'll deal with Tammy.
Ugh, Tammy. Yeah, I'll mark a crown. Going with this sort of sense of the insufferable. I'll do a crown of the queen.
Okay.
And I will do a flashback showing how I was an imperfect sister or daughter.
Awesome. You can just mark it for now, and whenever you're ready to do that, just let us know.
Okay.
But I will tell you, it'll bump your die roll up to a 7 to 9. And instead of encountering Tammy, I'm just going to give you a condition related to the smell. So I think I'm just going to give you like a nauseous condition related to the fish smell. But you're in the back. Let's cut over to Laura. Laura, Emily says, oh, never mind. I thought I heard somebody come in. Yeah, my father, apparently they fished him out of the bay a couple nights ago.
Yes, and I thought that maybe, I know that we didn't leave things. I know when you were just starting out with your yoga practice in LA, and I just vanished. I'm sorry. Things happened. I'm not really in contact with anyone anymore from that time. So, but
she says,
but maybe
Laura,
we should.
And this is your complication or your cost. She says, well, Laura, it's no big deal. Just between you and me, Laura, most everyone went to your yoga studio just because of the people you knew in LA. I don't think anyone was really interested in you as a yoga teacher. Like, don't take that the wrong way, but it was more about who you knew. I have continued my practice of yoga. I've learned a lot of things that I feel like I probably should have learned in your class. But that's neither here nor there. And I'm going to give you the condition. How does it make you feel, first of all, when she kind of like very blatantly like just insults your yoga instruction style?
Well, I think this is. So I think Laura is quite confident that because she is really one of like the early people bringing yoga in, so that her yoga is actually fine. But there is this. This is one of her nagging fears, of course, that because she was so early in the scene and she had all these celebrity connections, that all her big success with her studio and so on is actually due not so much to her yoga knowledge, but actually the fame of the people that she was teaching. So yeah, I think that hits her.
Yeah, I'm just going to put wounded pride. And I owe you a clue because you did get a 7 and 9 now. So let me take a look at the clues real fast. She says, listen, just between you and me, I think someone in my family did it. I don't have any evidence for that, but I do know that my father was making some big, big changes to his will. And well, there's a lot of money at stake, I don't really care because I managed to get in on the ground floor of some very, very lucrative tech IPOs. But my brother and sister, my mother,
But Emily, that's horrible.
They're horrible.
Well, I think, I dimly remember you telling me that you didn't really get along with your family, but to suspect them of murder, isn't that a bit Well, but in any case, I don't look. I'm still sorry about what happened. Let me make it up to you. Let's meet up for brunch tomorrow. I know this great place here. Sunday is brunch day in Brindlewood Bay, So
Sure. Yeah. That sounds great. And then she says, I'll text you, or you can text me the details. And then we'll cut from there. Commercial break. Go for it, Dan.
Okay, so we open on a boardroom. It's black and white. There's a man with a large hat sitting at one end of the table, surrounded by men in suits. The men in suits are like, Fenway Frank, I've got bad news for you. It looks like you're out of money. He says, how could I be out of money? I've been selling furniture all year, like nobody's business. And it zooms into the ledger, and there's a entry that says fireworks minus $5 million. And they say, you're going to have to cancel the fireworks show this year, Freddie. We just can't do it. He says, no, the people need this. America needs this. Sell it all. I don't care how low you have to go. And then there's a voiceover that says, July 4th, fireworks on the bay, brought to you by Firework Freddy's. Fenway Frank. Fenway Frank's furniture store. Come out July 4th to celebrate America. Come to Fenway Frank's to celebrate low prices on July 5th. Cut.
The American way. I love it. Sheriff, you got a 10 plus, so you can just describe how you get Sheriff Dalrymple out of there.
So I just continue talking about this owl and what makes it special and how few of them there are in the wild. And I'm like, and there's actually a foundation that is trying to protect the environment that this owl needs to live. And if you would make a donation, it is a 503c organization, so you can take it. You can take the tax break.
He's ready to go. Yep. Awesome. Ida, you get in fine. You're in this building. You both are now, presumably. What's your approach here? What are you looking for?
I think she's looking for. There's going to be like a records room of some kind. There's the offices where people actually work, and then there's like a room where they store things. And I think that there's a combination of some like big overflowing filing cabinets, and then a like ancient fax machine / scanner that they've been using to very slowly digitize these records. And there's a big old like practically original iMac or something there that they've been uploading things onto. And so I think it'd be cool if Ruth started like sorting through some of the records, the physical records, and Ida started trying to get records off the computer.
I love it. We can get a couple of information, or I keep saying information, but that's not what it is. That's my other game. Meddling moves in there. I love it. You can start, Ida, if you want to start going through the computer databases. Give me a reason roll.
Yeah, so this is reason. Do I have anything helpful? I do have USB drives that I could be using to offload the data.
Sure. Yep. Go for it. Just mark it and roll 3 dice.
I'll roll 3 dice. Oh, that's very poor. But I am pretty good at reason. So that's only 6 together on the die, but I have a reason of 2, so that upgrades it to an 8.
Very good. We'll come back to that in a moment. And Ruth, are you okay with searching through physical archives, or is that something else you want to do?
No, that's fine. You can do that.
Give me a reason roll. Meddling move.
That is a 7.
All right, so I owe you both a couple of clues. We will come back to that. Laura, anything you want to do after your phone call?
I think she is actually going back to basically taking out a photo album from that last year in LA, where she looks at some of the photographs, and you can see Emily in the background in some of them. And then like the album is like, she has this row of photo albums, and she basically takes out the last one, and it's only half filled, and it just stops at a certain point, and she kind of stares at that last page where there's just one photograph and there could be 3 or 4 more. And she's kind of reflecting on something happened there, something dark somehow that made her leave LA, and still don't really get to see what it is exactly, but that's kind of how she ends the night.
Take a condition. The clouded past. So Esther, you're in. Did not have to deal with Tammy, and trust me, you'll be really happy about that. You can find the cold storage, no problem. There's no one around. What do you do?
I am going to. Well, can I see the body?
Yeah, if you go into the cold storage, you will see, tucked in between shelves of cod and haddock, packed in ice. There is a body. It's wrapped in a tarp, like a car cover. And mind you, this is because Brindlewood Bay, despite the ridiculous number of murders that happen here, they don't have a morgue or anything like that, right? To like keep dead bodies. And yeah, I think the head's even still sticking out. So there's no doubt at all that it's Albert's body. What do you do?
So I, again, digging into that journalism background, I want to see if I can, identify anything on the body that might let us know as to cause of death. Not having any kind of medical background, but very confident that I will be able to do this.
Do the meddling move with reason.
That is a 10.
Nice. Can get a void clue if you want to mark your crowns again, but otherwise we'll give you a 10 here, give you a clue. I'll go ahead and just do your clue. Let me find it real fast.
Okay. I think I won't do a void clue quite yet.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, so as an example of like how bad the Brindlewood County Sheriff's Department is at their job, you're looking around. I don't know if you can really tell necessarily how he died. He does look like maybe he just either drowned or maybe it was, he looks like he has like an injury on his head. Without a more like thorough professional examination, it would be hard to say for sure. However, you find in his coat pocket while you're rummaging around, a waterlogged manila envelope filled with receipts for extravagant purchases.
Interesting.
Artwork, furs, like Fendi bags, like that kind of stuff, right? Quite a lot. It equals tens of thousands of dollars in extravagant purchases. And we'll make that note here.
Seeing the vanilla envelope, I think, also triggers my flashback for me.
Oh, I love it. Let's do it. What is the flashback you're doing?
So I'm doing the proof that I was an imperfect sister.
Go for it.
So as I sort of like pull out this waterlogged thing, cue flashback montage of Esther is a twin. She has an identical twin sister who, in her mind, whether this is factual or not, was always, the golden child. And sort of having reached a breaking point, they both applied to J school, to journalism school at the same time. But this was a long time ago, and they weren't letting a lot of women into journalism school at the time, and spots were limited. And so she was supposed to deliver both of their applications in the manila envelopes. And when she reaches the mailbox, she puts her own in, but puts her sister's in the trash.
Ouch. Oh boy. Okay, good. Thank you. That was awesome. I'm going to cut back over to Ruth and Ida. Let me just fish out some clues for you. Did you both have them on 7 and 9, or was there a 10 plus in there?
7.
Okay, great. Let's start with the physical archive. Newspaper clipping, sort of a social, like society page, kind of thing. carrying an item, a sort of rumor, but an item nonetheless, about Allison Krauss having an affair with a young soldier, and never confirmed. This is just this particular rumor monger's scoop, and that's what you find. I'm going to I'm going to add a slight complication here, and if you're okay with it, Ruth, I'm going to say that the young soldier is, they're not named in the piece, but you remember this. The young soldier is your nephew. Your nephew, Johnny.
Sounds good.
And I think this is maybe like a thing in your family that you're remembering now, right? So yeah, that's a thing. Ida, you're going through computer databases.
I am.
And you also you find a story about Krauss drama. Last year, when they were summering in Brindlewood Bay, there was a confrontation between Sarah and David Krauss. Sarah grabbed a very expensive antique vase at the store they were both shopping in here in town and threw it at David. It shattered. It was a big to-do. The Krausses, they actually somehow got out of paying for it. And they got their lawyers involved. It didn't have to pay for this expensive vase. It was a whole thing.
Okay.
And we'll update the clues in a moment. That feels pretty good. I do owe you a complication as well, correct, Ida?
Yep.
I think something about the story makes you angry, something about this memory, because this is a local thing.
Yeah.
Apart from what I've said already, what's the connection that you have that makes you particularly angry about this?
Oh no, I like this. I think that the vase in question was the masterwork of whoever she's studying pottery under in Brindlewood Bay, and so it's something that hurt them deeply at the time, and so I think that it makes her mad to have somebody she cares about be hurt like that.
I'm going to give you the condition angry.
Okay.
Let me make a note of our new clues as well. I'm going to cut back over to, because it sounds like Laura's kind of wrapped up. I think this will probably wrap up for Ruth and Ida tonight as well. Let me cut back over to Esther. Esther, is there anything you want to do after you acquire this pile of receipts?
Who is it again who's holding the body?
Etienne Beauregard. He is a fishmonger there at the fish market, and he as a favor, he's letting them store the body there because he's a friend of the Krausses.
So the only thing I would like to do, I assume, since he, works here, maybe does he have an office nearby?
Yeah, probably. I think we can pick that up in the morning.
Yeah,
I think we do that. And so that sounds like a good morning time thing to do. Fabulous. Let's take, sorry, go ahead, Laura.
No, go, yeah. Go,
I was just saying, we'll
go
take a quick break.
Yeah,
take a quick 3-minute break. We'll come back and do some more. Okay, we're back. Before we went on break, Adrian, you said you had an idea for an occult move. Pitch your idea and we'll see if it feels right.
Okay, so the idea is basically that when Laura was in India, they had this kind of antique yoga text, like a Sanskrit book, on exhibition at this embassy where Brian, the diplomat, worked. And I think Laura stole it. And there was some form of, like, I think Brian found out, and then some form of accident happened where he died when they were kind of, there was something with the book. She didn't want it to give it back and so on. And she doesn't really, she doesn't really know much Sanskrit, but somehow she was able to read that book, and it gave her like some insights, and that was kind of why she became so successful in the yoga world. And I think that's kind of, my idea would be that she kind of wakes up in the middle of the night, and then she goes to that book that she still has somewhere, you know, in a box somewhere, and she kind of picks it up again, because somehow, how now she's thinking of what happened in LA, why she left from there, and it has something to do with Brian and with this whole thing. And maybe even that sound that she heard in the background when she was on the phone with Emily, that kind of also triggered something. And so she would go back to this book and kind of look through it and kind of try to figure, because that book always helped her when she was kind of in a difficult
I like
situation.
where this is going. I think for now, I would say put the book in your not personal quarters, your cozy little place. And then if something happens in the future that has a more occult or spiritual veil, I think then we maybe see what happens there. But for now, put it in your personal quarter. I want to say personal quarters. For now, put it in your cozy little place, and we'll revisit later. It's the next day.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, it's the next day, and I think what I want to do at this point to kick off the day, kind of like the beginning of a TV show, you know, especially Murder, She Wrote, like the kind of little montage of Jessica Fletcher enjoying her life in town. Let's do that. And I want to just have everybody describe a very fast little scene of their character by themselves, enjoying their life in Brindlewood Bay, whether that be their hobbies or whatever you're doing, but just a little something. Imagine it is set to a jaunty tune, right? Whoever wants to go first, do that.
I've got a scene in mind. So I think it's early in the morning. The sun has sort of just come up, and Ida quickly goes for, I think she probably tries to walk as much as she can. I think she has, like, at this point, a apartment more towards the center of whatever constitutes the downtown in Brindlewood Bay. And she leaves there. She walks over to the studio that we brought up earlier that she does her pottery classes and stuff at for an early pottery session. I think I'm going to call it Agatha's Arts and Crafts. And so she goes to Agatha's, and she sits behind the wheel after, of course, greeting Agatha first thing, and she immediately gets working on her new piece. She's trying to figure out how to do bowls. They've been giving her lots of trouble recently. And so I think she gets the clay on the wheel, she gets it nice and wet, and she starts roughing in the shape. And then as she goes with her thumb to actually like open up the clay and spread out and actually start building that bowl shape, she hits the completely wrong spot. It gets really off center, and it wobbles as the plate is spinning, and finally it actually pops off and like flies into a nearby wall and splatters. And she and part of the room are just covered in a little bit of clay. And I think at first she's like shocked, and then she just throws back her head and starts laughing. And I think that's her scene this morning.
Awesome. I love it. Ruth?
Okay, so we like cut to Ruth like hiding in a bush wearing full camo, and she's sort of like, she's got like the binoculars in her hand, and she's like doing a little army crawl through the bush, and she's like, "Oh, you thought you could escape, didn't you? You thought you could come to my town and I wouldn't know about it? Oh, not on my watch, not today." And she's crawling through, and like brings the binoculars up, and you see her like adjust it, and it like zooms in, and it's like this adorable loon floating on a lake with a little baby on its back. She's like, "I got you, you son of a bitch."
Fabulous, thank you. Esther?
Yeah, so it's very early morning, the sun just come up, and you see Esther on her little garden, little being relative. It's actually quite a large, sprawling vegetable garden, and she's working with a couple of younger people, you know, like teenagers, and they're like picking the vegetables and stuff, and loading them into these like baskets in a truck and boxes, and she cut to like driving Bo with her kids in the back, and they drop off the vegetables at a farm stand that's designed to help like marginalized people sort of coming together, a community building farm stand where she drops off the vegetables.
I love it, thank you. And Laura?
So we see Laura basically on her porch and doing something with like her stamps, kind of sorting them and so on, and trying to get a little quiet because she is actually a bit stressed. I mean, she is thinking about the past, her pride, you know, about her yoga instruction, and she just suddenly she gets up and she goes inside and she turns on the TV, puts in this DVD, and then she starts this yoga practice of her own program. And she still does yoga. She doesn't teach anymore, but she still does yoga. But normally she just goes to a retreat, to routine, kind of, you know, on her own. Now she does this program, and then, you know, she kind of, we can see just kind of, she's kind of thinking, well, yeah, I'm actually, I am a good instructor. Like, I know what I'm doing, you know, and that's kind of what we see.
I love it. So let's talk about the morning. Here I want to tell you about another move called the vulnerable, or not the vulnerable move. You know, the worst thing about working on another game that uses a similar chassis is you get all your terms mixed up. It's called the cozy move in this game. One of the things we really want to like emphasize is the relationship between the characters, and this is one of the ways we can do that. And so the cozy move, the way it works is it's a scene between two characters, and one of you is involved in your cozy activity. You're doing your cozy activity in the scene. And basically, what it is you each get to clear a condition, if it makes sense. And then if you're the maven whose cozy activity is the one being done, then you also can, you have like a little bonus, which is you can stumble on a clue, or I think that's it. Yeah, that is it now. Okay, I've changed that move a little bit. You can, yeah, so if it's your cozy activity, you can also find a clue as well. So that's kind of a thing you can do if you want to clear conditions, because conditions can impede your progress. Also, as far as like where our story is, it would probably be pretty cool to see Ruth doing the Frank Columbo move with the wealthy Krause family, although we got a hint of it a little bit with Sheriff Dalrymple. I could see an interesting daytime application of Fox Mulder could be fun. We've established already that Laura might be the one that has to get you on the boat, right? So that could be a good use of Remington Steele as well. So those are kind of some ideas there as far as like how to proceed here for the daytime. I think I want to go around the table with all that said and just find out what you're all interested in doing. Laura's also apparently has a brunch date with Emily as well. So, and I have an idea for that, so we'll have that scene fairly short order. But Ruth, what are you thinking right now for the day?
Yeah, so I'd like to just go talk to Allison. You know, I think we know each other. We're in the same like charity circle.
Yeah, that makes, yeah, that's actually what she does. That's her thing in the mystery. She's a well-known like fundraiser in the Boston scene. So are you going to try to go out to the boat, or are you going to try to catch her while she's in town?
I'll try to catch her while she's in town.
Okay, I like that. And Ida, what will you be doing?
Oh, what a good question. So I is it implicit that we've sort of exchanged the knowledge we collected the night before?
Yes, it's assumed you always have shared all that stuff.
Okay.
Yep.
So I think that Ida, at this point, she's really curious about and would like to dig deeper into the relationships among the Krauses, because we've got a couple of clues outstanding that are about, arguments they've had, and records can only get you so far with that sort of thing. So I think we heard from the sheriff that we would need some sort of pretense to get onto the boat and then like have some conversations with the Krauses. So I think she would be on board for anyone interested in going and taking a closer look at the scene of the crime, so to speak.
Sounds good to me. The presumed scene of the crime.
Presumed, yes.
Yeah.
True.
Esther, what would you like to do?
Yeah, I think I'm also down to go get on the boat. I think that's where we need. It's my journalistic vibes telling me that we need to go get on the boat.
I like it. I'm here for it. Laura, I think I'd like to start with you and your brunch with Emily. She has brought David with her, the brother. David was not invited to the brunch, but he is there. Whether maybe he invited himself, it's a little unclear. But in any case, Brindlewood brunch. What do you suppose, Laura, is like a brunch tradition in Brindlewood Bay?
Well, it depends. I think probably for the kind of likes of rich, spoiled daughters like Emily, it's maybe oysters overlooking the port, kind of, the yachting section where kind of, all the expensive boats, you can see them anchored out there and so on. It's kind of like a little terrace, and you basically get like some form of like champagne even, and oysters or something,
I love it. So I think the three of you are there. Emily is, I think Emily actually like dresses relatively casually relative to her family, probably just like in a kind of like some Lululemon yoga pants and like a hoodie, David is dressed for something, some kind of event. He wears like an oversized black sweater with strange white geometric prints on it, patches sewn on, and he's wearing sunglasses the whole time that he never takes off. And they bring a plate of oysters, and David says, no, I'm sorry, I can't eat that. I don't eat anything that carries its house on its back. So, and the waitress doesn't really know what to do about that. And he's quite fussy the whole time, actually. Like, you may never get to brunch because he keeps making changes and requests and stuff. So let's just pick up the scene. What do you do? What do you say?
I think Laura says like, well, look, and I think there was some kind of pleasantries exchanged, and I think David doesn't really, he's basically mostly talking to the waitress, kind of, working
he totally
on his
invited
order.
himself. Emily's like, I didn't even want him to come, but we basically bullied her into coming.
And Laura says like, this stuff, it's good to see that you're still doing yoga. It seems like, from the outfit and everything, and you really were a good student. And I know I told you that I teach you some additional things, and I never did because I suddenly left. And that was quite hurtful what you said yesterday on the phone, but I probably deserve it, as kind of leaving your training half finished, and you're always asking me about these specific instructions and everything I learned from India, and I never really got around to telling you about it. And
at this point you realize that Emily is just kind of staring, like maybe through you, past you. And after you're done like unfurling all this, she says, I'm sorry. What? Say that again. And she's like, yeah, sorry. I'm really distracted, dead father and all that. And the two of them like are suddenly distracted by the fact that like you can get like a branzino here, right? And they're like, oh, and they're like kind of like totally distracted. Like they're not at all paying attention to what you were saying. And we're gonna cut away. Ruth, you find Allison. I think the family kind of came ashore, right? And she's doing some shopping. Where do you corner her? What store?
Man, this is way outside my wheelhouse. I don't know, some fancy store. I would assume that Ruth looks very out of place in.
Let's do like one of those like a glass blower, like glass objet. That sounds good, right?
Yeah.
A symbol of the fragile state of the Krauses right now. They're not in a fragile state. Allison says, Ruth, is that you?
Oh, Allison. Wow, what a surprise.
Allison is dressed in, I think the best way to describe it would be like sort of Martha Stewart chic, like kind of khaki clam diggers and like a white like a cardigan, that kind of thing with a thing tied around her neck. And she says, she's very slim, very pretty. She's probably just a few years younger than you. And she says, I forgot you lived here, Ruth.
Oh, well, yeah, and it turns out I needed a, what is this exactly? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I don't need any more glass things. We tried to do a whole glass exhibition. David's gallery. David runs a gallery, and he has a bit of a temper, and well, glass art objects and David do not mix. I like it though. I think it's pretty remarkable. Albert and I, we have a chihuly hanging in the foyer, and she says, "Oh, Albert, did you hear?"
Yeah, I mean, I'm that's why I'm here, Allison. Like, I'm not here for glass.
It's just like Albert to go and get himself killed when I am on the precipice of charity fundraiser greatness. The man could be so self-involved.
Well, I mean, that aside, I was worried about you, and because I know when Jim passed, it was really rough, and I had a lot of eyes on me. And
Jim was
my husband.
Oh, your husband, right?
Yeah, the mayor.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Well, I don't really. Sorry, I don't really keep up with provincial politicians. Well, thank you for your concern, Ruth, dear. It's so sweet of you.
Yeah, and I just found that like talking it out really helped me a lot. And so if there was anything that you wanted to talk about, I just want you to know I'm here for you. Especially, if the way he tragically died, and what happened again?
Do a meddling move with presence.
All right. That's not going to do it. That's a 4.
That's not going to do it. She says, I think at this point, the attendant or the worker at the shop like comes up to you both and says, are you Allison Krause, ma'am? And she goes, yes, that's me. She says, he says, "Oh, well, this is really strange, but there's someone. We were taking out trash, and there's someone out back asking if you were here. Do you want to like?" And she's like, "Oh," she's like, "I'm sure it's one of my children, or I don't know why they would come through the front. Can I go through the back?" And they're like, "Yes." And she goes to the back. What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely creep around the side of that building and check out what's going on.
You creep around to the side of the building and you find Allison's body laying by the dumpster. It's unclear how she died, but she is there and definitely dead. You can mark a crown to avoid this, or you can lean into it.
Man, I want to use a crown, and I also want her to die, though. So
they're tough choices in Brindlewood
it really
Bay.
is, yeah. We'll just let her die. I like it.
Okay. We'll come back to, how do you feel right now when you see her?
Oh, I mean, I think I'm like kind of freaking out, and I'm like, you know, hyperventilating a little bit.
I'm gonna give you a condition shocked. Take a shocked condition. We'll cut away from that little moment there. So Ida and Esther, you may have to find a way on the boat without Laura, because Laura is currently occupied with family members. But the good thing is with the family off the yacht, you kind of have the run of the yacht, right? So that's a good thing. There's no one to really there to bother you. We haven't seen Sarah yet, but maybe Sarah also came to town, so who knows? Sheriff Dalrymple, if you want like an official escort, Sheriff Dalrymple will have one of the sheriff's boat or the sheriff's department little boat things take you out there if you want, or you can get a local fisher to take you out there.
There might also be someone helping from the Fox Mulder move.
That is true.
To get
as well.
her on the yacht.
Yeah, that could be a thing as well. But
I was also thinking that so it was it Ruth who likes to fish as the style?
It was the style, yeah.
Yeah, it was the style.
Ruth's a birder.
I guess that's true. I was trying to see if it'd be possible that one of us might have a small craft.
You can. It's fine. You can have access to a craft. I'm not worried about that. So.
Because I definitely think that once the mystery is afoot, I think Ida avoids the police as much as possible. She doesn't really, she wants to get to the solution before they do, because it's a bit of a game, I think, to her. So I like to imagine then Ida comes from a fairly privileged background. So I think that she probably has the assets necessary to own a small craft in the bay.
Sure.
A little boat. And so I think she could provide transport for her and Esther to the yacht. I don't imagine.
Sound good?
Yeah, Esther hates the sheriff, so she doesn't want to. Sure.
Perfect.
No side characters likable in Brindlewood Bay. Very few of them, anyway. Okay, so you take your little boat out. We'll just kind of fast forward to that. The yacht, the Regal Lady, which is anchored offshore. You going in sneaky, or are you going to like announce yourself to whoever meets you?
Good question. I think she originally wanted to actually talk to the Krauses, and so I think she would probably be inclined to announce herself. But I also know that Esther was sort of thinking of going in sneaky, like, so.
You can always sneak. You can always sneak around after you get on the boat too. So.
Yeah, I think Esther's fine with doing like an announcement to get on the boat. Like she's very confident, but I also think I don't think that I can sneak onto a boat. That seems a little bigger than my skill set, especially because I should have mentioned Bo came with us. The dog is with us.
Nice, good, perfect. Yeah. So you pull the boat up, and what they would do is they would like drop a little like ladder down from the rear of the boat, right? So you can climb on. But you are met by an elderly gentleman in a butler's uniform, presumably the butler, and we'll add him to the suspect list, by the way. And he kind of calls out to you. He says, "Can I help you?"
Yes, we were interested in meeting with the Krauses. I hear there's been a terrible event for the family.
Well, none of the Krauses are here right now. They've all gone into town.
Oh, well, that's unfortunate. Well, I expect they'll be returning, though. I hear they're not going to be staying in town.
I don't know their precise itinerary, madam, but would you like me to give them a message when they return?
Well, if you're so generous with your time, I was wondering if we might. Well, you see, and she gestures to the motor on her boat. I'm running quite low on gas. I was assuming that I would be able to maybe borrow some of yours. Could you help us out here?
Yes, I suppose we could help you with that. I will. We just well, do you want to come wait up here while we take care of this?
Oh yes. Getting out in a small craft like this is horrible for my stomach. I would love to get a little bit more under me.
And what will we be doing with the dog, madam?
Oh, the dog is coming.
Can the dog climb a ladder?
Oh, I'll carry him. It's fine. We'll work it out.
How very charming. All right. And they drop the rope ladder down. It's not that far, but it's I think we still have a scene of you all like kind of wobbly, climbing the ladder with the dog on you, and the butler, Andrew is his name, trying to help you, up on the ship. And he says, if you would both be just be so kind as to wait here, I shall go and talk to the captain. And he goes. He leaves you both there. Esther, what do you do? Oh, let's have a paint the scene question too for the both of you. The regal lady. As you step aboard the yacht, what do you see that indicates these people have more money than they know what to do with?
I think there's a helicopter on the yacht.
Nice. Okay, good.
There's like a helipad on the top level. And it's like not a huge one. It's like maybe a 2-seater, but they have a helicopter on this yacht.
Awesome.
I think they have ice sculptures too of their family that are just like constantly refreshed on a regular basis.
I love it. This also feels like a symbol for their family, the state of their family right now. These half melted ice statues. Good. So Esther, what do you do while you are just waiting on the rear of the ship?
I would like to see if any of the receipts that I have match anything that I can see on the ship.
Interesting. Take a meddling move with reason.
I'm gonna get back to my sheet here. That is an 8.
We'll come back to that. And Ida, what are you doing?
I think if Ida's been sort of given the run of the place, under the pretense of going and trying to find a gas can, I think she's going to. She knows that there was some sort of blunt force trauma that the body had sustained. We don't have, confidence that that's definitely the method of death, but I think she's probably going to look for any signs of a struggle on board the yacht.
Do a meddling move with, I'm going to say composure, actually, because you're poking around.
Okay.
When you're supposed to be staying put.
That is a 4 and a 5. That is 9, and composure is 1. So that is a 10. Nice.
And we'll come back to that in a moment as well. Laura, you're not getting anywhere with David and Emily. They are so distracted, and they are not concerned about their father's death. They seem completely unmoved by that. What do you do? What's your approach to get their attention here?
Well, actually, I think kind of building upon this kind of occult tendency that we had, I think what we're seeing as basically, so she was talking to them and then they are just staring. And I think basically after a moment, everything becomes kind of quiet because Laura also stops talking. And then she focuses on these weird kind of shapes and symbols on the sweater that David is wearing. And she's kind of thinking, haven't I seen these? And, Emily said something about one of them having something to do with their father's death. And haven't I seen these kind of symbols somewhere? What is this? And I think she's really trying to remember where she might have seen that before.
This might be leading into, if you're using the book and you were not at the restaurant, I would say we could probably get up to occult move level. Otherwise, I'm going to say it's just probably meddling move with
yeah
reason.
At the moment I thought it was basically just meddling with reason. I think just kind of trying. Let's see. Can I use anything? Yes. Okay, so I think so she doesn't really come up with anything. Like she tries to remember and she doesn't really, nothing kind of rings a bell. And so what she does, because these two are actually, I mean, she's not really a smartphone person as such, but she does have kind of this old phone, because of her Twitter account and everything. So she snaps a photo of David's, like of the sweater, and she basically posts it to her Twitter account and kind of asks the people there, like if anyone has seen it, has seen something like this and can kind of identify what it is.
Yeah, if you want to mark that, you can do 3 dice.
Yeah. So let's see. And that is 11 on the dice and
probably
12.
Yeah, I think that's, what did we say it was? Reason? Yeah. That's 12. That's great. We shall definitely have fun with that in a moment. Ruth, dead body. Allison's dead. It's just you right now back there. The smoke break, I guess, is over with the employees of the store, because let's face it, that's what they were really doing. What do you do?
Okay, so I think once I kind of get myself collected enough to actually look around, I'm gonna try to investigate a little bit.
How so? What do you do?
I mean, just kind of creep up to the body a little apprehensively and look at it and see if I can see any obvious issues.
I'm gonna make you roll with composure.
Okay. That's bad again. That's a 5. I'll use a crown on this one now.
Do you want to? You get to hear what happens first if you want.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. What it is I think it's very poorly lit back here. There's some big trees, and the sun is kind of blocked. There's some shadowy corners, and you will see a figure in the shadows, wearing black leather gloves, maybe keeping an eye on this to tie up any loose ends or nosy Parkers who are back there looking for trouble. If you don't want to deal with this individual, you can mark the crown.
Yeah, I'll use a crown.
Okay. Decide which one you want to do, and then we'll come back to that.
Okay.
And so I owe clues to Ida for sure. You got a 10 plus, right? And Esther, you got a mixed result, right? And get a 7 to 9.
Yeah, I got an 8.
Let's go with Ida first. So Ida, you were just kind of looking for sort of signs of a struggle or something, right? Or something along those lines. Yeah, it's good.
Like either, things that are broken or something hastily cleaned up, or even maybe some traces of blood, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. You are, I think you maybe went down below deck where the cabins would be, and just poking around, and you find in one of the, let's say there's a room with a bunch of artwork, maybe some of David's, maybe David curated the space, but there's some paintings and things in this little room, and you feel a definite wetness beneath your feet. And if you look down, you'll notice that someone has been desperately trying to get a blood stain out of the carpet. And so it's very wet from all the scrubbing, but it's not working. It's just like clearly a blood stain that was trying to be cleaned up. That's your clue.
Excellent.
If you want to type that into the clue thing, you can. Esther. Your approach was basically the same. You were just keeping an eye out, right? Or were you doing something specific? Oh, you were looking through the receipts.
I was trying to match the receipts.
Seeing if something matches up. Yeah. That's interesting. You don't see anything like that, but there's a glint, or it could be. The entries are a little vague, like you can't tell precisely what an entry is sometimes. But while you're looking around, or just while you're kind of like casually going through things and looking about, you'll see a glimmer that catches your eye, and it's a wristwatch, a men's wristwatch. It's set for the wrong time. It is set for, well, I don't say it's set for the wrong time. It's stopped, is what it is. It's stopped at 12:30. Could be 12:30 in the evening, could be 12:30 in the afternoon, but 12:30. And that's your clue. And a complication that I owe you, a cost that I owe you. Oh, I think the complication is just that Andrew comes back with a thing of gas. And like, he's like, well, we're ready to take care of this. And he's going to like, and he's got the captain of the ship, and they're going to go, they're going to fill up your boat, and they're ready to get you two out of there. And he's probably like, where is your friend, madam? Because at this point, I just probably downstairs, right?
Oh, I think she went to use the washroom.
Well, if you see her, just let her know that we're going to have you gassed up very soon.
We'll go find her. Yeah, Bo and I will go and find her.
And on your way. And he sort of mutters under his breath, like, who takes a boat a quarter mile offshore and runs out of gas? Like, how did that happen? And so, Laura, I owe you a clue and a void clue, correct?
Yes.
Indeed. So void clues, we'll talk about those in a minute, but these are not, void clues are not, they're not usable for the mystery. They can't be used to solve the mystery. They're just like a timer, basically, for the sort of for the grand conspiracy. But the regular clue you get, is David carries a small handgun. Unusual for sort of liberal coastal elite, right? But he's definitely packing. You can see it. He's got a holster like under his big chunky sweater. Just an interesting observation. And you reached out to Twitter though to get Twitter's opinion on these shapes. And there's a back and forth. You're describing them, and some people like are posting up images of like, hieroglyphs and like other things that like sort of vaguely match this shape, right? All that stuff is kind of going on. And someone sends you a video taken a year ago, maybe. And the video is of a spot in Brindlewood Bay on the beach. You recognize it. And in the video, there are a group of people standing in a semicircle. They're all wearing long robes with hoods, and they are praying some sort of prayer. They have candles in the middle of their semicircle. And what that's about, who knows? But in the middle of the prayer, one of them turns around and sees the camera person, the person recording them, And the camera drops. You can't quite make out what's happening at this point, but you can hear the person recording it saying, oh my God, what's coming out of your mouth? And then the video just stops. And at this point, we check in with where we left everybody. Esther and Ida are on the boat. Ruth, you were bumping up. You were avoiding. You were getting. I owe you a clue, right, Ruth?
Yeah.
Allison, you'll notice now, is clutching a cod with a rat stuffed in its mouth. Your complication is I'm giving you another condition, which is unnerved, to add to your conditions. How many do you have so far?
Two.
Okay. And I think we will end the session there. It feels like a good place to end. I think some people owe me, or at least one person owes me a mask, or a crown thing, right?
I do, yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Read it off to us, and what's happening.
Okay, so it is a scene in the present day showing a burgeoning romance.
Oh, okay.
And I think this is like, we see like, after she finds the cod with the rat in it, she pulls out her cell phone and calls Sheriff, what's his name?
Sheriff Dalrymple?
Sheriff Dalrymple, yeah. And Sheriff Dalrymple comes over, and like when he gets there, she kind of throws her arms around him and hugs him and just starts crying into his shoulder.
No!
And he's like, oh, it'll be okay, Ruth. You maybe need to get some coffee to calm your nerves. And we go to a coffee shop and have a coffee with the sheriff.
Interesting. It's a weird, like, because you both run in local politics circles, right? So it's that whole kind of thing. Yeah, it's good. Fantastic. Any other crown things that we need to do before we go to end of session?
Not a crown thing, but I was wondering for Ida, when she discovers the bloodstained carpet that they've tried to clean, could she like have a small pocket knife or something and cut just a little piece of that carpet out?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Excellent.
So end of session. So for the first session, what I wanted to do is you have these questions, and one of them is always, did the murder mavens solve a mystery, right? Well, you didn't this time. And then you have like 2 elective questions, right? And normally you'll have selected them beforehand, and then you try to role play towards that to get an experience point. But here, for the first session, I'm going to let you just look through the list and choose a question that you definitely did, so that you can get an experience point for it. And then starting next time, you'll pick new ones and try to like role play towards those things. So take a look at the end of session question list and see if you did any of those things. And if you did, you can get a couple of XP.
So could these be satisfied during our little interlude scenes?
Yes.
Or did they have to be during a main scene?
No, they can be satisfied during flashback and stuff too, or like,
okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So who wants to go first?
So I definitely think that Ida secretly undermined the authority of a local official.
I agree.
With a little bit of help distracting him, breaking and entering while he was there.
Indeed.
I was wondering whether or not did you show someone that you've still got it? Whether or not like bypassing the security system of this building would count for that. Okay.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good to me. So you get 2 XP there. Adrian, how did Laura do?
Well, so one of them is did you share your wisdom with a young person? And I mean, I think she tried to finally give some of her yoga secrets up to Emily, but Emily was not really that interested.
I like it. I like the scene. It was good. You can take an XP for that.
And the other is, but I'm not sure. I mean, share a memory of a late family member. I mean, we saw her kind of remembering what happened to Brian and that kind of whole thing. So
no, that works. Yeah, that works. Yeah, this could be in or out of character stuff for sure.
Okay.
Let's go over to Esther. What do you think, Alicia?
I think that Esther behaved like someone half her age by like hauling this massive dog like up a ladder like it was nothing. Like she
I enjoyed that. Yeah. Take an XP, and then what else?
I also think that I secretly undermined the authority of a local official by being like, "F you, sheriff! I'm going to look at the body right now."
Absolutely, yeah. That's the easiest one to hit, I think, for this session. What about Ruth, Dan?
So I think the secretly undermining the authority thing for the B&E with Ida.
Absolutely, yeah.
And behaving like a woman half your age, army crawling through the bushes during her intense burning session.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I like it. Awesome. So everybody got 2 XP, and then so for next time, you'll choose new questions, or you can keep them the same, but you'll do those, and then if you solve the mystery, you can get the 3rd one, so you can all get in advance next time. And with all that said, we shall do our debrief. So our debrief technique that we do is called stars and wishes. Stars are things that you enjoyed, either something about the game, a particular scene, something about the characters, something I did, just anything you enjoyed, and as many things as you want to say. And wishes are things that you hope to see next time. So why don't we, whoever wants to go first, whoever's ready, by all means, go. I'm gonna be thinking.
I liked everybody's characters, kind of, trying to get to know this group. Even though Laura kind of separated early and then kind of went on to do her own thing. I like the scene with the dog. I think that was also great. And I think, what I think was striking, actually, there was lots of death that was then kind of, because of the crowns did not actually happen, or not all of it at least, but it shows in a way how kind of this tension between this kind of cozy situation in Brindlewood Bay, but also kind of how quickly it can get dark. So I like that.
Yeah, for me, stars, I really enjoyed the characters. I thought you all did a very good job for the first session, especially, like showing who your characters are and what makes them unique between each other. And that all came out really nicely. I mean, it came out nicely during character creation, which is what it was designed to do, but like it also came out in the play really nicely. Star for the commercial, I thought the furniture commercial was very, very funny. Star for, I also enjoyed the getting on the boat. That was pretty funny. I just think everyone did a really nice job playing to their character's strengths and getting their hands right, kind of getting in there in the investigation. That was really good. So those are my stars.
I really loved how all the stuff with Laura sort of showcased how Brindlewood Bay, you can like splinter people off and they can learn things and also like experience some pretty cool character. Like Laura went through some stuff and this episode, she had to face some of the stuff from her past and people bringing it back up for her. So I thought that was really, really cool. I also loved the snide remark from the butler about the gas, which was a bogus excuse. So I loved that got called out. That was really good. And I also just want to circle back on, like, I really like all the characters that we have and how they're all very unique. They all have their own things that they care about and that they're good at, and that's something that is really well supported by this. So good job.
Thank you.
So yeah, I mean, kind of echoing what people have said, like I think all of the characters are fantastic, and I'm really enjoying the that the system kind of encourages sort of pairing off and going in different directions and stuff. And I think it's interesting to see like the different characters interacting with each other. So my personal wish is I would like to see Ruth and Laura hanging out, because they feel like very opposite people who are probably like amazing friends. And oh, my final star also is Allison is amazing, and but I'm glad she was only in one scene. She was my
I
favorite
love the
character, and I'm
Krauses.
super happy
Yeah.
she's dead.
Yeah, I love the Krauses. The Krauses are very fun to role play from a keeper's standpoint. So, Alicia, any stars or wishes?
So my star number one is just all of the Schitt's Creek references, just like peppered all in through here, living for that.
This one's relentless in that way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's so good. Also, I just want to echo what everybody said. I loved everybody's characters. I love like the little moments. I mean, that's what the system does, right? Is give everyone their little moments to shine in a way that's snappy. I like that it doesn't feel bogged down. My wish, I guess, would be I like that we can all go our different ways, but I would also maybe like to have more like, let's look at the friendship of these women together, I think.
yeah, that's my major wish. I'm ready to. I want to do the cozy move, and I want to see the characters at leisure with each other. That's one of the things that the game really wants to be doing. And you all have quite a lot of conditions on the board at this point, so it is time to do that. And I'm in particular a wish. I want to see how a shadow in the garden, which is the mask of the crown of the void thing that Laura has marked. I want to see how that works its way into the scene a little bit, that cozy scene. I'll be interested to see how that goes. And yeah, I think those are my wishes. Any other wishes before we go?
Well, just two more, actually two more stars. I mean, and anyway, I should have already done the shadow in the garden actually in the vignette, but
I know, but it's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, no, I think I did enough or I did some background and stuff. So two more things that I found really interesting, because I don't think I've played before, but I've ran. So I mean, one of the things that of course this mystery system tries to solve, and I think solves very well, is the whole clue and kind of the whole mystery structure in general. But I think there's basically like in a sense two additional things that it somehow solves, which is I mean, you must have I found it very interesting that you started with this mystery again, because you must have run this like 30 times or more. I mean,
so
I
many
don't
times.
know, but,
yeah, so many times,
right? But of course, because of the way that this works, it's actually interesting to run it multiple times.
It's totally different. Yeah, this has worked out totally different
right?
than I've ever had it.
Something else happens. And also, if you have run it, if you play it, the same thing applies, right? It's kind of, it might be, I mean, it's at least as interesting to run a mystery as a player that you have run as a GM, because you then can see what happens with all the different kind of, elements. And I think that's an interesting thing, because normally, because it's often because you focus on kind of the player side of it, right? It's like, okay, what does this do differently mystery wise for like a player experience? But it's also actually interesting what it does in a way to the GM experience, because it's very different to run this 30 times than running like a Call of Cthulhu adventure 30 times, right? Like, so this is, I found this came out for me very strongly. I think that was quite interesting. And the other thing that is, it's more, I think probably more of a PBTA thing, but how that first miss, like on the first roll, I think, of the game, if I'm, but for Laura with the telephone call, somehow kind of spun off into this whole direction of the way that the character now has kind of evolved through the session that I had not at all thought of, right? And I think that's a really, like, that's kind of one of the really interesting things to see, like how if you go with that kind of thing, then it suddenly spins out into this narrative, and I enjoyed that a lot.
Awesome. Any other stars and wishes before we go?
I think wish-wise, echoing that I'd really love for us to all get cozy. next session, and specifically like after we have splintered off as much as we have to like all come back together. And then I think it looks to me like we're about ready to theorize on a
You have a
level
lot of
6.
clues. Yeah,
So,
yeah. You have a lot of clues. You'll be able to like theorize really early next time, and then
Yeah.
we'll start another mystery. So
yeah. So that's where I want to go. I definitely am looking for opportunities to fox Mulder, but I haven't found the right one yet. So
it'll be fun to see
maybe
that.
not for this mission. Maybe it'll be for the next one.
Indeed. Okay, cool. If there's nothing else, then I think we are all sorted for our first session. I'm going to be here again next week at the same time to do part 2. And I hope everybody had a good time.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you
thanks,
all.
Seth.